Welcome, guys. I'm Rami Kujan. I want to welcome you to the fifth installment of the Coaches Forum. We have a couple of incredible guests tonight. We're really honored to have uh, Jerry Manuel, former manager, big leaguer, and Dell Matthews, both of which have an incredible resume. But we're super excited to have you guys both tonight. And first of all, I'd just like to welcome you both. And Dell, I met Dell years ago now. We were just talking before we went on the air. You know, right now is when the Breakthrough Series, which Dell has been running for the what is it, 4 or 5 years, I think. And we'd be on the field somewhere in Vero Beach or Kansas City or Compton, one of the urban youth academies. And so it's a little bittersweet that we're not on a field, but I'm glad you're here tonight. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Rami.
I also want to welcome Jerry Manuel, and you guys probably know Jerry was the manager of the White Sox and also the Mets, manager of the year, and played in the big leagues. And he's got a great man. Has just become one of my dearest friends, along with Dell. Just through being able to work with these guys in the summers and watch what they do. I'm super excited to ask you guys some questions and really just let you speak to us as coaches and people that enjoy baseball, but really want to get just hear from you guys. You guys have an incredible wealth of information, experience, and have seen so many things. And I'm super excited. So we're going to jump right in. I've got a list of questions. We're gonna start with really both of you. You guys can take turns. Maybe we'll start with Jerry. I'll tell you what. We'll start with Del, since you can tell people about why the Urban Youth Academy, the MLB Urban Youth Development Program exists. I'd like you to start with that if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Rami, for having me. Really appreciate the platform. And to be honest, the MLB Urban Youth Academies, is an initiative to um, give opportunities to less fortunate kids and communities all around the country, to allow them to have the opportunity to play at great baseball facilities, get excellent coaching, and hopefully impact them in the community so that they're able to get the opportunity to play baseball on their high school baseball teams in college, and for some professionally. And so really, each of the eight academies that we have um, around the country give those kids the opportunity to develop and get better on a day-to-day basis. We have great instructors, great staff that support and give the kids a chance to learn baseball and softball. And we've been doing really a lot of good work. And so the why is because of the kids and our next generation of baseball and softball players coming. We want to make sure that they have the opportunity to receive all the resources and tools available so that when they play on their teams, they're prepared. They can compete at a high level and make us proud. And so we're happy with all of our academies and, hopefully looking to build more.
Awesome. Jerry, I was just thinking about. I was trying to remember I know I met you up in Northern California.
Right.
I want to know more about how you're involved with the MLB Youth Development Program, but you have your own thing going up there, don't you, with the school? Didn't you start a school up there?
Yeah, we started a school up there. There was a school that was closed down, a middle school, and we decided to uh, basically do the same thing that Dale is talking about, but we just wanted to target the underserved kids and but be all inclusive as well. But I was a part of the uh, breakthrough series and things before Dale came aboard, and Dale and Tony and Kendu Jones have taken that thing to a whole different level. It wasn't what it was. It's what you see it is now. They took it to a different level. And so what we do in Northern California is something similar, but the component that we've added is education. So we have the kids in the classroom all day, and then at 1:30 to 3 is baseball. And again, we just target the underserved kids. We charge nothing. We pay for everything. We pay for uniforms. We pay for entry fees in the tournaments. And all we ask them to do is that when we go to places to feed the homeless, that's mandatory. When we go to places to clothe the people that need clothing, those are the two things that are mandatory for those kids to be a part of the program.
Wow, that's really great. You know, I've been to your field, and I mean, you guys take great care of it, but it doesn't look like Shea Stadium or City.
No.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, but one thing we have that FungoMan, which has made it easy for us to do what we do with the repetitions that we get, and that's what baseball is. Baseball is talent that's trying to become skillful, but in order to become skillful, you got to get the repetition.
Wow.
And that FungoMan allows for us to get the repetition to where we have had guys go on to 4-year school. We just had a guy sign for USC. We had a guy that was homeless, got a scholarship to Grand Canyon University. So that machine has been a lifesaver for me because of the fact I don't need to be there in order for them to get those repetitions. I could be on the field watching. I don't have to hit the fungos. I'm an old man right now, so I don't have to swing the fungo. I let the FungoMan do the work. And like I said, it's been a lifesaver for them. We've developed players. We're developing players in all fashions and in all styles. So it's been a real good thing. It's been rewarding. It's been very rewarding to watch.
Yeah.
And for me too, Rami, you know, it been in baseball all my life. And when you get out of baseball, there's somewhat of a void in your life. And this creates a void. This fills a void for me, along with what we do with the Breakthrough Series, the Hank Aaron Invitational, and all the future game that Dale them has me involved in at All-Star. I mean, that fills a great void for me. I mean, it's just awesome to see youth and the incredible switch that goes on within their eyes and say, aha, I got it. And you get that opportunity to see that. That's rewarding enough for me.
That's good. You know, I remember talking to you one time about, you know, reps, and you brought up a story about Kirk Gibson.
Right.
And was it you either coached him or played with him? I can't remember.
We were playing together.
So tell us the story. It was something about he couldn't hit a curveball, right, coming out of college.
Well, we had the 2 tires. You know, that the machine with the 2 tires, the real big tires on them. And every morning we go out in Evansville, Indiana, at the AAA level, and we hit a trash can bucket full of balls. And when Kirk Gibson was assigned to AAA, you know, they was trying to reason. He was a prospect. He could do everything, could run. He didn't throw extremely well, but just had enormous power when he made contact. But our guy, we go out in the morning, and in the first 2 months, we pick up all the balls in the back of the cage. All the curveballs that they threw to him, he missed all of them. We go in the back of the cage, pick them up. Then one day, he figured it out. And from that day since, he's been a superstar.
Yeah.
And he had a chance to go play football. Matter of fact, he got a scholarship. I mean, he's not a scholarship. He got an offer for the St. Louis. It was the St. Louis Cardinals at that time. And I remember Jim Leland going in and saying he got his contract. He showed the guys the contract. We were struggling a little bit at AAA. Jim Leland took that contract and tore it up in front of him and said, "We're out here every morning with you, and you out here showing us a football contract, and we're here struggling trying to get in the playoffs and carry because we got to play you, and you're not doing anything." You know, all of a sudden he caught on fire, and he carried us.
Out. He figured it out.
He figured it out. The repetition. Repetition. Every morning. Every morning.
So Dell, tell me this. You guys have been at it now with the Urban Youth Development Program for over 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And can you talk about what the trends are in how things are going and the development? I mean, I could answer this question because I've been watching it and being around it for the last, I think, four years, but I want to hear from you because I know you know the numbers and you can probably spit them out, no problem. But what's happening?
Yeah, so I mean the trends are definitely we're trending up in terms of participation, in terms of awareness, in terms of success rate of kids committing to colleges, and ultimately, kids being drafted. Obviously, everyone that has the opportunity to come to a breakthrough series is not necessarily going to get drafted, but we are raising their platforms, and what we have seen is the type of player that we're getting to the events. The competition level is extremely high. We're getting very good baseball players that also happen to be very good athletes. And the combination of the two is what really takes you to the next level. And we love what we're seeing. Our 2021 class is going to be extremely strong. I was watching today during Perfect Game National, some of the kids competing. And it's just great to see, kids continue to grind, to go back into their cities after they've come from a breakthrough series showcase or a tournament that we've played in the fall, continue to work hard during their school year and the off season, and then come back in the spring, on fire. And it's what's great about our program. We will usually have 2 to 3 showcases during the summer. It's for primarily African-American kids, although it's not exclusive. And we're getting kids from all over the country. We're getting coaches that are recommending players everywhere from California to Florida, Texas, Illinois, New York. I mean, we get kids from all over the country, Nevada, Utah, and they're coming and they compete against each other. They have an opportunity to play in an environment where they're really comfortable, and we teach them the game. I mean, you've seen it up close. You've lived it. We get out there early on that FungoMan for early work, which is probably our most exciting time of the day, watching guys go through the drills and watching our former major league players that are coaches, give these guys the tutelage, show them the drills. And they take to it. They can't get out there early enough and they can't stay late enough. And we love it. And we're seeing a lot of momentum. 96% of the players that have come through the breakthrough series have gone on to college or professional baseball. And so we're extremely proud of that number and what we've been able to do. And we've been doing that since 2008. And, the numbers continue to trend up. Obviously, a little bit shorter draft this year and didn't have quite as many players taken, but we had 2 taken pretty high in Ed Howard and Jordan Walker, and we're extremely proud of that.
I've had a couple of questions come in, and I have learned over the years, but what is the difference between the RBI program and the breakthrough series, and also even getting involved and having someone like if you're a coach and you want to or you have somebody, how do they go about doing that? I know that's something that's been asked.
Yeah, so the RBI program is run by my colleague David James at Major League Baseball, and he oversees that program. But RBI is our grassroots initiative to revive baseball in the inner cities. And so we have RBI programs in many different cities and areas all over the country. It runs, we have a junior RBI program, and it's a great way for kids to get an opportunity to play the game, get a chance to play in a fun environment. And, we do have RBI regionals and then an RBI World Series for those teams that are a little bit more competitive. But it's an opportunity for us to have league play at the grassroots level that's affordable, that's fun, and in an environment where kids get a chance to learn and play the game of baseball. And so we're trying to do that in cities all over the country. You can get in contact with us at Major League Baseball, and we can put you in touch with local RBI programs if you're interested in volunteering, or if you have players that are interested in playing. And again, it's just another opportunity to play the baseball and play baseball in so many environments. There's travel. Obviously, kids are playing high school. They may be playing little league. RBI is another opportunity for kids to play the game of baseball, and it's specifically geared towards the inner city.
That's great. So Jerry, identifying these players, first thing we started talking before the show, and in a minute in, and you're already talking about a player. I know that's what you're about, and you're about seeing guys develop. As you've been involved in this program, what are the things that you're looking at as a guy that's seen the very best? Is there a way that scouting it seems like it's an art. I know it's a tough thing, but tell us how you figure it out.
Well, I think the number one thing I look at is obviously movement. You can see the talent. You can see the ball jump off a kid's bat, or the way the ball comes out of a kid's arm. It might be coming out incorrectly or whatever, and then we try to do what we can to straighten that out. Or he might be swinging and missing, but once he makes the contact, you see a different thing. Our biggest thing is that when you're dealing with the culture that we're from or we're in, you got 70% single family homes. So you don't have dad playing catch and doing those types of things with those kids. So we start out with the very basics of throwing, sliding, those types of things. But we're looking at a guy's movement, his rhythm, and those types of things. And then we're saying, where can we take off what is considered a raw tag? A lot of times they put a raw tag on a kid. Oh, this kid got this, he's got the talent, but he's raw. So we try to do whatever we can to strip him of that raw tag. And the big thing is getting the right repetition, and then seeing what the kid looks like the next year that he comes out. So as far as the scouting part of it, it's usually guys that are recommended by scouts or people that have seen them that we get, and then we kind of do at the end of the day, you've been in there where we do an evaluation piece of what we see, what we got, and we ask all the coaches that we have and to give their evaluation of the player and what a player needs to get better. And then we hone in on that focus. And in the time that we have, we try to do everything we can to, strip that raw tag off of them.
Man, I've been in that war room down there in Vero, and I'm going to tell you guys, it's serious. I mean, these guys, and we're talking about, it's amazing. I've felt so honored just to even sit in that room and hear these guys who we're talking about, Eric Davis and Marquise Grissom, and I mean, you know, it's an amazing group. Flash Gordon. I mean, you could just go down the list of the coaches at these events. But the thing that's impressed me the most, and I think it starts at the top with you guys and the leadership, is that there is a clear purpose. And we started off with the why, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, after practice, before practice, you guys are you know, just going through it with these guys, selling guys, and really working hard to make do the best you can to get them to the next place, wherever that might be. But I have seen that happen, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, what do you, Dell? You know, I think I know the answer to this, but these guys, I mean, we're talking about, you know, I've seen Griffey show up. Dave Winfield's walking around, and then, you know, Mike Easler's, you know, teaching hitting to these kids. Some of the guys that I idolized as a young baseball player, and now these guys are giving back their time in coaching in a big way.
Yeah, I mean it's a joy to see, and for me it's interesting because I grew up in the game, with my father playing in the big leagues, and so I idolize these guys too. Same kind of thing. I mean, they're more tangible for me because I got a chance to be around a lot of them, and I've been around Hall of Famers and All-Star players, and so for me, um, they're like regular guys, and now the focus is on the next generation. It's the next player, and the great thing about our game, it's a generational sport. It's passed from grandfathers to fathers to sons, and sometimes even grandmothers or mothers to sons and daughters, and we all love the game, and that's what it's about. That's what the focus is. It's for these kids. It's for passing on the game to them, showing them what we know, so that when they have different experiences, or if they come across stumbling blocks, they're able to leap over them. They're able to have something in their toolbox to attack whatever issue it is that might be coming their way. And so we're just trying to give them as many nuggets as we can. But it's great to be able to work with the staff that we have. Working with former major league players that care about the next generation of baseball players, that put their heart and their soul into it. It makes it easy to come to the ballpark. I mean, Jerry and I, we laugh. We talk about this, all the time, going back and forth over rosters, over players, and who's coming and who's gotten better, and waking up early, getting to the park, talking about what we're going to see that day. I mean, my background is in player development, and I worked with the White Sox for 8 years. And so essentially we treat it like we would at the minor league level, or a spring training camp. And so that's the experience that the players get when they get to spend 3 days with us, or 5 days with us. And that's second to none, because not everybody has that experience. Not everybody has had a chance to experience that. And so when we create that kind of environment and the kids get a chance to come, they really flourish. And, as I said before, they go back home on fire for the game of baseball.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, Jerry, I've noticed, is just the atmosphere. It feels big league, it feels professional. There's a sense of those events all have that feel to them, and I think that's, again, you guys create that. I mean, when like I said, you put Darryl Strawberry in the room and all these other guys. You got the Daryl Millers and the Pat Mahomes. I mean, again, there's just guy after guy that's walking around and they care, and
Yeah.
I think that's special.
Well, I think the thing we try to emphasize, at least in the first meeting, is that despite what you have done, you still have to check your ego at the door, because it's not about you anymore. It's about the young kids. And what we try to do, at least what I try to do, is I try to stir it up a little bit to see where your acumen is at the youth level, and then take that information and say, okay, well, this fits and that doesn't fit, but not at the expense of embarrassing someone that has been in the big leagues or played in the big leagues longer than I have, but with respect and what have you, and implementing some of the things that they've done, because a lot of these guys are old school, and now you got the sabermetrics piece that's a part of the game now, that you got to kind of marry both sides and come out with the product that fits not what you used to do, but what is being done now at the major league level. And that's my job. So every now and then I'll stir it up. I'll pit two guys against each other and let them just kind of fight it out, battle it out, and then Dale and I, we'll make the last decision on what direction we'll go, or what we like to teach, or what fits better for this particular camp or for this particular young man. So it's fun in that way, that the banter that goes on all the time, and the talk track. It's old school.
I've seen you do it.
School stuff.
You can stir it up with the best of them, huh?
Oh yeah, I like to stir it up because I like to push the envelope, if you will, with the guy that has done what Strawberry has done what Eric Davis has done. I've never done those things. I like to push that envelope and talk about it, and then come back with an alternate plan and say, what do you think about this? And why not? And show you why this might fit better for them than it fit for you, because you were such a great athlete that did other things than baseball. And so you gotta take all that into consideration when we're making out that schedule, for the day or for the week, or what we like to see as an end result.
Very good, very good, guys. That's awesome. I want to turn to the current situation. I'm going to ask you both, and maybe you can answer. Jerry could start, but in the midst of where we're at, you both have been involved in making a difference, and have been. You already have been working towards solutions in bringing this race, this challenge, the social injustice piece. But how do you approach social activism in the world of athletic performance in today's culture?
Well, number one, humanity is humanity, period. And we don't try to pit one against the other. I think what we want is to be included in, because I think for the game's sake, the more the cultures become together and play, the better our game can be. And that's all we want. That's the bottom line. We don't want all this, all that, or whatever. We just want the game to be better. We want Ichiro. We want whoever come from wherever and play this game that has given so much to us, but now is lacking a culture that has somewhat been removed. And that's our job, is to try to push it back in that direction, so that our kids can wake up and notice the Tim Andersons and the people walking down the street, like they'll notice the LeBron James and the Steph Curry. We want our culture to be coming back to the game like it was before, even before the Negro Leagues, that type of thing. So that for us is our mission, and our mission is plainly to give our kids the best information to be the best men and the best character that they can be, so they can go back and give back to their communities, and reciprocity happens for them. And then we can come together. You can accept some of the things that are happening in the world today, and be cool with it and be able to respond to it in a way with some idea of who you are and what's going on.
That's really well said. Del?
Yeah, tough act to follow there. You know, I'm inspired by this next generation, and I think for me that's what gives me hope and optimism. At the end of the day, I think, you know, as a baseball player and even, you know, myself growing up the son of a major leaguer, you know, a lot of the teams that I played on, I was the only African American, you know, kid on the team, and that was fine with me because I love the game of baseball. I love being out on the dirt. I love hearing, you know, my cleats hit the ground. And, you know, I had that commonality with all the other players, black or white. But there is a difference. You do feel a difference when you're the only African American player on the team. And, you know, I didn't run into a bunch of issues, but, you know, I had my share. And at the end of the day, you know, the locker room and your teammates, when you're playing the game of baseball, they become like family. And I got a chance to get to know a lot of great teammates, and they got a chance to get to know me. And you know, there's always a little bit of you know, what's this guy about, or who is he, and a you know, a prejudgment, if you will, on an individual until you get to know him. And you know, I've had that all of my life because I'm the son of a major league player, but also because I'm African American. So there, you know, I think people were always assuming things about me, assuming, you know, maybe that I thought I was the best player on the team because my dad played baseball, and that was never really the case. At the end of the day, the common denominator was the game and the love for the game, and the want and the desire to get better, and seeking information and from my coaches and teammates. And so that's where the commonality came into play. And I think now, with everything that is going on, you know, it's unfortunate what we're seeing, but at the end of the day, you know, God has called us to love our neighbor. And for me, that you know, is what I try to do when my feet hit the floor every morning. And you know, that's what I encourage others, you know, to try and do, and you know, try to spread the good news.
That's beautiful. That's really great. Thank you. I've seen it. I've seen you do it, man. I want to transition into another aspect of this whole idea of bringing something to baseball. And I think, Jerry, I heard you say it a little bit earlier, and you kind of alluded to this thing, this different, everybody brings something different to the table. But I've seen at these events that, and other, I mean, this is not just a certain type of athlete, but there are certain types of athletes that can bring an energy. What kind of impact can that have in a game? Can you speak to that?
Well, I think the key is that, yeah, you want to bring energy. You want to bring energy, and you want to bring the right kind of energy. And you can bring energy by running in and off the field. You can bring energy by going first to third.
Yes.
You can bring energy by moving up with a ball in the dirt. Okay? You can bring energy. That's where your energy and excitement comes. But at some point, that's the good part of the energy. But then there comes a point where the game, you have to slow the game down. You can't be all energetic at the plate and anxious and doing everything all fast, running to the plate, running back. That's not the energy that we're looking for. You know, we're looking for you to now slow it down and do what you got to do. Now use that other energy, put that in your feet and run yourself off the field, and then get ready to play and focus and concentrate on the opposition and the scoreboard. Know what the scoreboard is saying. Read the scoreboard. It'll tell you what your coach should be anticipating. You should be able to anticipate what is going to be happening as far as strategy goes from your coach. If you're watching the scoreboard, he's just confirming to you that, yeah, that's the right way to play. When you get your team locked into that scenario and playing and letting their frustrations out and running in and off the field, going first to third, reading the ball in the dirt, that type of thing versus throwing things and all that type of stuff. We don't allow that type of thing going on with the equipment. So that's how we hope to bring the energy. But then again, at the same time, when you get to the plate, you got to slow things down. You got to slow the game down. And then when you're on the mound, you got to be in attack mode. You got to come get in. You got to perform. It's a performance. The game is the perform. People come in to see you perform. So give them the best that you can give. If you got to do a flip before you go out on the field, that's pretty confident that you're going to catch that ground ball that's hit to you. You know what I'm saying? You get Ricky Henderson that, they'll tap his glove or whatever he do and snatch it and come out. That's confident. That's okay. We don't take that away from you. We like for you to bring out your uniqueness, but also be able to conform to the team and the team moving forward in a spirit of excellence.
Wow.
That's it. That's it. In a nutshell.
That right there is gold, Jerry. Now that right there is gold, but now bring that into a practical drill. Can you give me a drill that I can take to practice that's going to pull that out of them? Or is that possible?
Oh yeah, sure, it's possible. You teach them, say, hey, this is how we sit on the bench, and this is how we take the field. Go take the field and come back. It's 3 outs, come back. You don't use no balls, you don't use anything. Boom, you go run on the field, you run off. Run on the field, you run off. How many innings we playing today? We might be playing 15. Well, we got 15 sprints. You know what I'm saying? We got 7 innings. Okay, run in, run off. Run in, run off. Yeah, I mean, the same thing. Then you go to the base running portion of it. Hey, every guy, I mean, when you got a guy like Mike Socia around, you got guys like Ron Washington around. These are big league guys. These guys are talking about different things. You take those nuggets from those guys and you implement them into the program. We're not set in the ways that we're doing. We're always striving, again, like I say, for excellence in this program. And with Dale and Tony, they give us that room to do that. And that's what has, I think that's the biggest thing that has moved the kids forward and this program forward, because we have allowed them to be themselves, but at the same time, you're with the team. That name on the front is more important than the name on the back. Wow. And you're representing. And for us, we can speak to it as you're representing a culture that's trying to get back in. And you're performing. And hey, do your thing. But within the confines of not embarrassing anybody or showing up anybody, there's some etiquette as well to the game that, we don't allow, things that we don't allow, but we allow you to be you to a degree, but conform to what the game calls for. That's
great. Del, you had mentioned you grew up in a baseball family. You really did. I remember watching your dad. Everybody watched your dad on what was it, TBS or what in Chicago? Is that right?
WGN.
Yeah, WGN. And yeah, him and Jody Davis, right? I can remember growing up, and I knew their names because they were always on TV. But do you give us a couple of maybe more memorable stories of your own growing up in a baseball family?
Yeah, so I think 2 come to mind. The first is when my dad played with the Phillies. in '83, and so you have Joe Morgan, you have Mike Schmidt,
Wow.
Juan Samuel, believe was on that team, Bo Diaz, Steve Carlton. And so, I mean, you got like 3 Hall of Famers on that team. And I think my dad, he was one of the leaders on that team. Pete Rose actually gave him his nickname Sarge. But I remember I had did something wrong at home. I'd been horse playing around with one of my brothers, did something. And so, I had to go to the ballpark, with my dad that day, kind of as punishment, but it really wasn't punishment for me. It's exactly where I wanted to be. And, when you're a kid in the locker room, you kind of learn early, there are times when, you can obviously you're running around and having fun, but like, before the game, when guys are getting locked in, you got to kind of chill out and you can't be in everybody's locker. And I'm telling you, I'd go through everybody's locker. I'd be going through, looking at their batting gloves and their cleats, their gloves, sticking my hand in their gloves. I mean, that's what you do as a kid. But so Pete Rose was like in the where the food is, in the cafeteria. And I think I was in there like trying to get some ice cream or something. And so he walked in, he saw me in there. He goes, "Hey, little Sarge, come here." He goes, "Hold this cup for me." So it was an empty cup. And he opened up, it was like a can of Pepsi. And he just turned it over in the cup and walked away, right? And so like I'm just holding the cup, and of course it overflows in my hand, and he's just laughing like, "How long are you gonna hold the cup? Why didn't you put the cup down?" And so, that stories like that in my interaction with Pete, and I was probably maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old at the time, but I remember that to this day, like it was yesterday. And just being in the locker room and listening to the guys go back and forth and talk about the game and talk about what they were going to do. And the amazing recall for me of players of the Hall of Fame caliber. I mean, these guys can remember who they faced, what inning it was, what the count was, what the pitch was. I mean, you can, if you get a chance, some of you coaches, you ever talk to a big leaguer, ask them about one of their more memorable at bats, and I mean, to the detail, the way that they can describe it is just amazing. The recall. But I think my favorite moment, my parents divorced at an early age, and so I used to spend the summers with my dad, and I got a chance to go spend the summer with dad. And when you're a player's son, you love bat boying and being on the bench and being around your father when the game is on. And so I was bat boying one game, and my dad hit a home run. And I remember, watching him go around the bases, and he came to home plate, and I got a chance to give him a high five. And that's probably one of my most memorable experiences of growing up at the ballpark and being around Pops, is being able to give him a high five and a salute, after one of those 3-run homers.
Nice.
Hey, I remember Sarge. Sarge had one of the coolest home run trots in the game. He get the third. He throw his hat off. He get the third. He get to the third baseman. He slapped 5, and he just pointed home. And he kind of had a little sweet jog in the home plate. But he wasn't embarrassing anybody. But he was just. It was just like, "Dang, Sarge, you killing it, bro." I mean, he came to play.
He had his own style. He had his own style, and he played hard. And I mean, when you play with Pete Rose, he told me, he said, I never thought anybody loved the game more than I did until I met Pete Rose. Yeah. And for me, that just like it crystallized, because I know how hard my dad played. I know how much he loved the game, and he gave it his all. I mean, he was he was giving it 110% everything he got. And that's one of the things now, as an adult and with my trained eyes, when I watch my dad and watch him, see old videos or watching him play, I'm amazed, at what he was able to accomplish. And
yeah, he had on that team, Sarge was in left, Maddox was in center, and I think Bake McBride was playing right. And my God, if you hit it in there, you didn't even, you better hit it over their head, because Maddox, he would cover 2/3 of that thing, and Gary, he'd run through a wall to get a ball, and Bake McBride could fly. So, I mean, they had a great team. I mean, that was a great team. We was fortunate enough to beat them, I think, in Montreal. I forget what year it was, but I just remember that, my God, we got to go against these Phillies, and that daggone Sarge, he going to do something crazy, and we got to stop him. We got to put some stop on Sarge. We got to pitch around Sarge, do we can, because he's going to inspire the team.
So Jerry, you know, managing at that level, you were manager of the year. I think one year you won what 95 games with the White Sox. Is that right? Yeah,
I don't recollect. I think we won 97 games. Yeah,
97 games.
We went from like 70s. One year, the next year we went to 90s. We think we finally put in a program. Felipe Lou had taught me, and Jim Leland had taught me that, Jerry, you got to have a program. You just don't go out, take batting practice, and do this and do that. Everything has to be a program before the pregame. And I learned that from two of the best, Jim Leland and Felipe Lou. I couldn't have been under two better men that thought outside the box, but yet still of how to improve the game. And I used to go into their meetings after the game with the media. Philippe would tell me, "Hey, go get your cafeteria, sit down here, sit in the corner, and just listen and watch how I handle the media." And the same thing with Leland. "Hey, just come over here and watch and listen," and I did that. And I would always ask questions, but not in the way to second guess. They knew I was asking to learn. So they were willing to give me all I could. And that's the one thing about baseball people that I don't think the younger generation understand. We're willing to give that information out. We want to give that information out because we want the best for the game.
That's really good. You know, that leads in. We're almost out of time, but you lined it up, Jerry. This question is really for coaches that, as a high school coach, as a college coach, as a at any level, what should that coach be asking themselves in spotting talent and also identifying athletes and cultivating themselves as a coach? What are the questions? And you said you answered that just a minute ago, but is there anything you would add to that?
I think if there's anything I would add, that is, win or lose, you have to remain in character. You have to remain in character in the whole time. And you don't want to be a yeller or a guy that punishes. You want to be a disciplinarian, which is a difference. Discipline is love. Punishment is hate. You don't want to be that coach. And even in a loss, you want to find something that you won at, that you improved at, that you can add to the piece, so that when it comes time, when you're in your 8th, 9th game, you know what you're going to get from your team. So you're always looking for these little wins here and there, these little wins. And then you are the leader. You don't change. You take the brunt of the loss and the whole 9 yards. You don't blame it on the kids or keep them out there an hour after a game. There's nobody listening to that. Hey, go home. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Don't. That's the one thing I dislike sometimes about youth. I go watch my grandkids play. They spend more time after the game talking about the game than they did before the game. I'm saying, it's time to go home now. You don't have their attention. Right. Their attention is gone. Bring that back, take notes, find out what we did wrong, how can we improve? And that's the exciting part of it. You found a way to improve, to make your team better, or where you're trying to take them. That was Earl Weaver's philosophy. Where am I trying to take you to where I know when we're in that 50th game, I know exactly what I'm going to get and where my team is.
Mm. Wow. That's strong. That's strong. Del, yeah, you get to follow that again. What do you think?
Yeah, and thinking, my advice to coaches would be, one, to encourage your players to ask why. If your players aren't asking you why, either they're just bobbleheading you and telling you, yeah, they may not know what you're trying to explain. And I think it's important to have, you want players that ask questions, right? And I think we're always constantly learning. We should always be seeking information as players and coaches, because there are no absolutes. And I think coaches can get caught up in doing things a certain way, and no two players are the same.
Right.
We don't want to clone players. We don't want to turn anybody into a robot. Certain players may do things differently because their arms are longer or shorter, or they're built a certain way, or their bodies kinetically move a certain way. And so you got to have multiple tools in your toolbox. You got to have multiple drills, because a certain drill may work for one player, but may not work for another. You may need another type of drill in order to get to that player, to improve a mechanic. We try not to deal in absolutes. We have a couple of absolutes and play hard and give it 100%. And we talk about balance and getting in a good position to hit, but everybody doesn't have to have their hands the same way. Everybody doesn't have to start necessarily the same way. There are some keys and some basics that you want to have, but you don't want to get rid of that individuality, as Jerry alluded to. You want players to be themselves. And, sometimes you may have a guy that's unorthodox. Hunter Pence is unorthodox as it gets. But I'll tell you what, I'll take him on my team because he'll get it done. And, never underestimate, a kid's heart. The great thing about our game, it doesn't matter how tall you are, it doesn't matter how fast you are necessarily, although that helps, or what you look like. You can play this game of baseball at any build, at any size. If you love the game and if you're passionate about it and you want to get better and you have good work ethic, it can go a long way. If you like this game, you can do well. But if you love this game, you can be great.
Wow, that's really great, guys. You both have been examples. I cannot tell you how great it's been to be a part of what you guys do, and just be able to watch, be a part, and really witness the development of a program that's making a difference. I met Tim Corbin years ago, and when he showed up last year in Vero Beach, I was able to sit with him and just listen to him, and he was so this is the guy who just won a national championship, and he was scouting players at that event, and it wasn't just he was just trying to find another player. He saw something in what was happening there, and I see that happening more and more, and I just want to really congratulate you both on what the success to this point. And I know it's still, there's so much more that's happening, but you guys have done an incredible job. I really appreciate it. It comes through in just who you are, and I think that's a big part of it. So any last words before we go? I just want to say thanks again to everybody who's watching as well. But Jerry, anything you'd like to say before we go?
Well, I guess the last thing I would say would be that create those relationships with your players. Without relationships, you're gonna get rebellion, and you don't want rebellion. You want to be able to be able to have access to your players as far as their attention goes. And like Dale said, you're not looking for the bobblehead guy. You're looking to create that relationship that not only lasts while the time you have them, but when they're are far removed from the game. You want to be able to call them and say, hey, what's going on, and how you doing, and so forth, and try to give them the opportunity to, like I say, have reciprocity, give back so that we can keep the train moving. But thank you for having us, and I appreciate the fact that the FungoMan is a big part of what we do. I have to throw that in there because it is. It helps us tremendously. Thank you.
Dell?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for the platform, Rami, just to talk about some of the work that we're doing. You know, the kids, you know, are an inspiration to us, and it's such a joy to be able to see them continue to get better. As Jerry mentioned, the FungoMan is a extremely important part of that. We love the work that we're able to do with that. We love that we're building men. We're building men of character. And, you know we're not going to be perfect, but we're striving for perfection. And it's great to see the fruits of our labor. We've done well, but we still have more work to do. And life is a game of adjustments, and we've had to adjust during this period. I think we all have during COVID and even what's going on now. We're adjusting, but that's very likened to baseball. You have to be able to adjust in order to succeed. So again, thank you very much for the platform, Rami, and you're a great friend, and appreciate just the opportunity to talk ball. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's right. Well, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight. If you do have any questions, be sure to email us and let us know. Again, thanks to our special guests, Jerry Manuel and Dell Matthews. You guys are class acts. So with that, we're going to leave. Guys, go ahead and if you do want to email us, info@fungoman.net. And we can lead you to either one of these guys if you have any other questions regarding them. All right. Y'all have a great night. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Roman.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you.